even gone so far as to say that in a way what Russia did when it decided to invade was actually rational. That doesn't mean that we like it or approve of it, but that it was rational. Can you fill us in on your thinking about this? Because it goes to the heart of the issue I raised about whether or not those leaders after the Second World War would have been wiser in their approach to it. Maybe we've just become too smart and too slow to read real politics.
Well, I think that's exactly what happened here. I think you have to go back to the 1990s to understand what's going on in Ukraine. There was a big debate in the Clinton administration about whether to move NATO eastward, whether there would be NATO expansion or not.
Yes.
And inside the Clinton administration, there were a good number of people who were adamantly opposed to expanding NATO because they thought in realist terms. They believed that the Russians would see this as a threat. And as NATO got closer and closer to Russia's borders, it would all blow up in our face. And they fought tooth and nail to prevent it. This included people like George Kennan. It included Secretary of Defense Bill Perry, who has said he thought about resigning from the Clinton administration over this very issue. But these realists were opposed by a good number of liberals. And this included the president himself, Tony Lake, who was his national security advisor, Richard Holbrooke, and a number of others who believed that NATO expansion was a good thing. They had a more liberal mindset and thought that this would help promote democracy and economic prosperity in Eastern Europe. It would not be threatening to the Russians because they would see us as a benign hegemon and we would live happily ever after. What happened is the realists lost, the liberals won, and we started to expand NATO. We got away with a big tranche of expansion first in 1999. That's when Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic came in. Then we got away with another big tranche of expansion in 2004. This is when the Baltic states, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Slovakia all came in. Then in 2008, the trouble started. Because in April 2008, we thought in terms of the third big tranche. And this time, we said explicitly that NATO was going to bring Georgia and Ukraine into Durango. The Russians made it unequivocally clear that this was not going to happen. And Putin made it unequivocally clear at the time that it was a move that would lead to the destruction of Ukraine. Now, very important, John, at the NATO summit in Bucharest in April 2008, where this policy decision was made, Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy, the leaders respectively of Germany and France, were unequivocally opposed to bringing Ukraine into NATO. And Angela Merkel has said that the reason that she was opposed was because she thought that Putin would view it as a declaration of war. So if you think about it here, you have all these policymakers and prominent individuals like Kennan in the 90s, and then you have Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy, who are saying this is not a smart thing to do. And Bill Burns, who's now the head of the CIA, and in April 2008 was the U.S. ambassador to Moscow, wrote a memo to Condoleezza Rice, then the Secretary of State, basically telling her that this is the brightest of red lines and it's going to lead to unending trouble if we continue to pursue bringing Ukraine into NATO. So there were a lot of people who were opposed, and I joined that bandwagon in effect, right? Because I wrote this famous article in 2014 after the crisis in Ukraine broke out, saying that it was the West's fault, in effect, for expanding NATO eastward. But what happened here is that we doubled down every time. It's really quite remarkable. After the crisis broke out in February of 2014, instead of backing off, reevaluating the situation, we doubled down. And we have done that at every turn since then. And the end result is that we're now in this horrendous war that
私たちは今、
turns
さらに
one's
ひっくり返るような
stomach
恐ろしい
when
戦
you
争に巻き込まれてい
think
ま
of
す。
what is
ウ
happening
クライナに
to
何が起こっているか
Ukraine.
考えてください。そして、
And my bottom
ここでの
line
私の結
here
論が、
is that this decision to expand
ＮＡTＯ をウクライナ
NATO
に拡大するというこの決定
into
は、
Ukraine was
極度に無責任だったという
irresponsible
こと
in
で
the
す。なぜなら、
extreme because of the consequences for the Ukrainian people, for the consequences that flowed from this decision for Ukraine as a
機能する社会としてのウクライナにとって、この決定から生じた結果はウクライナ国民に及ぶからです。つまり、破壊が
I
つつあるという
believe
ことだ。も
this
し、
could have been avoided
我々が
had we not expanded NATO or tried to expand NATO into Ukraine.
撤退していれば、NATO をウクライナに拡大しなかったり、NATO をウクライナに拡大しようとしていなかったりしていれば、これは避けられたと思うが、我々は、
we're paying the price.
それをしなかったし、今、我々は実際にその代償を払っているのは、それが問題であることを明らかにするためである。本当に代償を支払っているウクライナ人たち、それがこれをこのような、ひどい状況にしている原因なので、あなたの言いたいことは、
Don't you
もし、
think that if we had had the leaders who were in charge and
1940年代後半から1950年代前半に私たちに責任を負っていた指導者たちがいたら、彼らはこうしていたであろうということです。もっと慎重で、
more sagacious and that they
この
would
災害を
have
回避したはず
avoided
だ私は、
this disaster. I think a good case could be made.
それが正しい説である
That's
という良い
true.
主張ができると思います。
Again, you don't want to underestimate how many people have been opposed to this policy of bringing more and more countries, including Ukraine, into NATO from the get-go. There's been a lot of resistance. It's just that the other side has won at every turn.